You are a few weeks from your first fire of the year, and from a bucket, most people tip straight in the bin. Wood ash is free, it is concentrated, and it is genuinely useful on a garden. It is also the easiest thing you own to overdo, by a wide margin. Almost everything you put on soil is forgiving. Too much compost is a waste of compost, nothing worse. This is not that. Get the amount wrong here, and you change your soil in a direction that is slow and awkward to come back from. And almost nobody knows which direction it pushes, or that it pushes at all. So, what it actually is, how much is too much, and the one reading that decides whether you use it at all. 2 places it must never go, 1 ash you must never use, and 1 bag in your shed it must never meet. Start with what it is, because every mistake after this comes from getting that backwards. Ask most gardeners what wood ash is, and they will tell you it is a fertilizer. It is on every list of free fertilizers there is. Run it as a fertilizer analysis, though, and you get roughly 0, 1, 3. No nitrogen at all. About 1 to 2% phosphorus. Around 5% potassium. 5% potassium is real and worth having. That part of the reputation is earned. But look at what makes up the rest of it. 20 to 25% of wood ash is calcium. That is not a trace element. That is the majority of what you are holding. And calcium in that form does one specific thing to soil. It raises pH. Which means wood ash is not a fertilizer that happens to raise pH. It is a liming agent that happens to carry some potassium. That sounds academic for about 10 seconds, and then it explains everything else that follows. A fertilizer you can be roughly generous with. You feed a little more, the plant takes what it needs. A liming agent is not a feed at all. It is a chemistry change to the ground itself, and the ground keeps it. It sits there through the season. It is still there next year, and the year after. So the question with ash was never how much do my plants need. It is how far do I want to move my soil, and in which direction. Which brings us to the number, and it is smaller than almost everyone expects. The annual ceiling is about 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. If that unit means nothing to you, there is an easier version of it. 1 5-gallon bucket, once a year, over an area about 30 feet by 30 feet. For maintenance on ground already where you want it, less again, 10 to 15 pounds. Now put that next to what a stove actually produces. 1 stove, 1 winter, gives you several times that. Easily. Which is the whole problem in 1 sentence. The failure with wood ash is almost never neglect. Nobody underapplies ash. They overapply it, because the ash exists, it is free, and it has to go somewhere. There is a logic to that which feels responsible. You are not wasting anything. But you are not spreading a feed thinly. You are dosing a chemistry change, repeatedly. And soil has no mechanism for shrugging off the extra. So measure the bucket, not the pile. That is the practical rule. Fill it, spread it, and decide what to do with the rest of the winter separately. Because the rest of the winter is not garden material. It is just ash you happen to have. If this is the kind of gardening you want more of, subscribing is what keeps it coming. And before you spread even that 1 bucket, there is a reading you need first. If your soil pH is above 7.0, wood ash does not go on it. Not a reduced amount. None. That is the line, and it is the reason the first chapter mattered. Because a liming agent only works in one direction. Compost moves soil toward the middle from either side. Ash does not do that. Ash pushes up, always up. If you are already above neutral, up is the last place you want to go. There is a detail here that catches people out, and it runs opposite to what you would guess. Wood ash is weaker than garden lime, not stronger. Lime rates around 90 to 95% on the scale used to compare these materials. Wood ash comes in between 25 and 59%, depending on the wood and how it burned. So it takes 2 to 4 times as much ash as lime to move pH the same distance. People hear that and relax, which is exactly the wrong response. Nobody applies lime casually. You buy it deliberately, you measure it, you have a reason. Ash arrives by itself, every week, for free, in a bucket, all winter. Weaker material applied casually and repeatedly reaches the same place as strong material applied once. It just takes a season longer. And this is the part that earns a whole chapter. Overshoot pH upward, and you do not merely lose a season. Iron and manganese become chemically unavailable in alkaline soil. They are still in there. The plant simply cannot take them up. You get yellowing between green veins on new growth, and feeding it does nothing, because the amount was never the problem. Bringing pH back down is slow, awkward work. Sulfur, patience, and a couple of seasons. Which is why this is the one item here that genuinely needs a lab number rather than a look. Test before the first application, and again every couple of years if you keep using it. 2 places it never goes, regardless of what your pH reading says. The first is anything ericaceous. Blueberries, azaleas, rhododendrons, camellias. These are not plants that merely prefer acid soil. They are built for it. They take up iron in a way that only works at low pH, which is the exact thing ash removes. So the same bucket that helps a vegetable bed at 5.8 is the thing that finishes a blueberry. Draw a permanent line around them. It never needs thinking about again. The second place is anywhere you have just sown. Ash carries a significant salt load, and salt is a problem for germinating seeds specifically. A germinating seed has no established root system. It cannot grow away from a bad patch, and it cannot dilute what is around it. An established plant in the same soil is fine. The difference is entirely about the stage. So keep it off the seed beds until things are up and growing properly. Late winter, before anything is sown, is the natural window for exactly that reason. Which happens to be when you have the ash, so this one is easy to get right. Everything so far assumes the ash came from clean wood. That assumption does a lot of work. Pressure-treated timber, painted wood, old fence panels, offcuts from a building site. None of that ash goes anywhere near ground you grow food in. Burning does not remove heavy metals. It concentrates them, because everything else leaves as smoke and gas. What is left in the tray is a more concentrated version of whatever was in the wood. The same goes for burnt household rubbish, which people do still do. Plastics, printed packaging, glossy card. That residue ends up in the soil and then in what grows there. There is a pattern here worth naming, because it came up in the mulch video too. With wood chips, people worry about the species. Is it walnut? Is it cedar? Was the tree diseased? Those turn out not to be the question. The question is what was done to the wood before it reached you. Ash is the same. Oak or ash or pine barely matters at this scale. Treated or untreated matters enormously. So the rule is short. If you did not see what went into the fire, the ash does not go on the beds. It goes in the bin, and you have lost nothing, because you were never short of ash. There is one more, and it is different from the others. This one does not damage your soil. It quietly wastes your money, and you will smell it happen. Do not apply wood ash and a nitrogen fertilizer together. Urea, ammonium sulfate, ammonium nitrate, any of the standard nitrogen products. Not mixed in a bucket, and not spread on the same ground in the same week. The reason is a reaction you have almost certainly smelled without knowing what it was. Nitrogen in those products is mostly present as ammonium, which stays put in soil and stays available to roots. Ammonium is stable while conditions are neutral or acidic. Push the pH up and it converts to ammonia. Ammonia is a gas. It leaves, That sharp smell is the nitrogen you paid for going into the air. It is the same reaction that makes a manure heap go sharp after somebody limes it. Not a soil problem, a wallet problem, and an invisible one, because the plants simply look unfed. The fix is separation in time, not in distance. Ash in late winter, on bare ground. Nitrogen in spring, when things are growing. Weeks apart, and the problem does not exist. One last thing almost nobody covers, and it is the part that can actually hurt you. Wood ash is caustic. That is not a figure of speech. Wet it, and you are making lye, which is the chemistry old soap was made with. Keep it dry and stir it, and you get fine airborne dust that is unpleasant in eyes and worse in lungs. Sew gloves, eye protection, and pick a still day. It costs no extra time. Store it in something with a lid, and keep it off bare ground where it can leach in one spot. A metal bin is the traditional answer, for a reason that is not about the garden at all. Ash holds live embers far longer than seems reasonable. Days sometimes. So here is the whole video as one winter routine. Through the season, ash goes into a lidded metal bin, and only ash from clean wood goes in there at all. Before the first application you get a pH reading, and if it is above 7 you skip the whole thing. Late winter, 1 bucket per 1,000 square feet, on bare ground, well away from the blueberries. Nothing near the seed beds, and no nitrogen for a few weeks either side of it. The rest of the winter goes in the bin, and that is not waste. That is the amount your garden could take. Free material is worth using, and this channel keeps coming back to it. But free is not the same as harmless, and ash is where that difference is sharpest. 1 bucket. Test first. Clean wood only. Nowhere near the blueberries or the seed trays. Do you burn wood at home? Tell me what you have been doing with the ash until now. Straight onto the beds, into the compost, or into the bin. I am curious which is most common. Next time, let the soil do the work.